They say every river has a spirit, a memory as deep and ancient as its waters, a spirit that remembers every promise, especially those that are broken. Our story takes us to the quiet village of Yumyuk, a place where the vibrant red earth meets the glistening water of the river Oji. In this village lived a young woman named Nneka. Her laughter was like music, and her beauty was the talk of everyone around. She was a daughter of the sun, cherished and admired. Every morning, without fail, Nneka would make her way to the river Oji to fetch water. She'd hum a soft tune, her feet bare against the cool, damp earth as the morning mist swirled around her like a ghostly dancer. The river was a part of her daily life, a constant, silent companion. But one day, the routine changed. Nneka's mother had fallen gravely ill. The village healers had tried everything, but the sickness held on, tight and unyielding. Desperate and heartbroken, Nneka went to the river, not just for water, but for a miracle. As she knelt by the bank, tears blurring her vision, she made a solemn vow. She spoke to the water, to the spirit she believed lived within its depths. "Oh, spirit of the river Oji," she pleaded, her voice trembling, "grant my mother life. Let her be well again. In return, I will give back a precious gift, a token of my gratitude. I promise." The river seemed to listen. The gentle ripples on its surface appeared to pause, as if considering her words. A profound silence fell over the bank, broken only by the chirping of distant birds. And then, a sense of peace washed over Nneka. She felt it in her bones. The river had accepted her vow. Within days, a miracle unfolded. Nneka's mother began to recover. The fever broke, her strength returned, and color bloomed in her cheeks once more. The village celebrated. Nneka's heart was overflowing with joy and relief. Her mother was back, her laughter once again filling their small home. In the whirlwind of happiness and renewed life, Nneka's promise began to fade. The memory of her desperate plea by the water's edge grew distant. Weeks turned into months. Her life slipped back into its comfortable rhythm. The daily trips to the river were just for water again. The vow, once so heavy on her heart, was forgotten. But the river did not forget. Slowly, subtly, strange things began to happen. At first, Nneka barely noticed them. A shadow that seemed to move on its own in the corner of her eye. A sudden chill in the warm afternoon air. But then, the strangeness centered on the river. One afternoon, as she leaned over to fill her clay pot, she saw her reflection in the water. She smiled, but her reflection didn't. It just stared back, its expression blank, its eyes empty. Startled, she shook her head, thinking the sun was playing tricks on her. But when she looked again, the reflection remained still, a perfect, unmoving mirror of her face, even as she reeled back in shock. The whispers started soon after. At night, when the village was wrapped in sleep, she would hear it, a soft, sibilant sound carried on the wind, curling around the edges of her dreams. It sounded like the river, like water rushing over stones, and it was whispering her name. Nneka, Nneka. The villagers started noticing too. They saw the change in her. The once vibrant young woman was now haunted, her eyes wide with a fear she couldn't explain. The laughter that once defined her was gone, replaced by a tense, watchful silence. The breaking point came one bright morning. Several villagers were by the riverbank, washing their clothes, their chatter filling the air. Nneka was there too, standing a little apart from the others, staring into the water as if mesmerized. Suddenly, a woman screamed. Everyone turned to look. Nneka stood frozen by the water's edge, her face a mask of pure terror. She was staring at her reflection, but the face looking back at her from the water was not terrified. It was smiling. A wide, cold, predatory smile that did not belong on Nneka's face. The reflection smiled while Nneka herself stood motionless in horror. Panic erupted. The villagers scrambled away from the river, dragging their children with them, their eyes fixed on the horrifying scene. Finally, Nneka broke from her trance and ran. She didn't stop until she reached the hut of the village priest, an old man whose wisdom was as deep as the lines on his face. Gasping for breath, she told him everything: the promise, her mother's recovery, the strange occurrences, the smiling reflection. The priest listened patiently, his expression growing more grave with every word. When she finished, he sighed, a heavy, weary sound. "The river never forgets," he said, his voice low and solemn. "You made a pact with an ancient spirit, Nneka. You received a great gift, the gift of life, but you failed to honor your end of the bargain. You owe a debt, and now the river has come to collect." A cold dread washed over Nneka. far colder than the river's deepest waters. She understood now. The whispers, the reflection, it was the spirit, reminding her, warning her, and now, threatening her. That evening, as the sun began to set, casting long, menacing shadows, Nneka knew what she had to do. She had to go back. She had to make things right. The sky was a bruised, angry purple, and the wind had picked up, howling through the trees, carrying her name like a curse. Nneka, Nneka. She walked to the riverbank, her heart pounding against her ribs like a trapped bird. The water was dark and turbulent, no longer the gentle companion of her youth, but something alien and menacing. "I'm sorry," she whispered, her voice barely audible above the wind. "I'm so sorry. I forgot. Please, forgive me." She knelt and placed her hands into the churning water, a desperate offering of apology. For a single, fleeting moment, the river calmed. The surface became as smooth as glass. The wind died down. A fragile hope bloomed in Nneka's chest. Perhaps it wasn't too late. She looked down at her reflection, and this time, it was just her own face, filled with regret and fear. But then, slowly, a change began. The reflection's hands, her own hands in the water's mirror, started to move. They reached up, not in a reflection of her own movement, but with a purpose of their own. They reached out from the water's surface. Before Nneka could scream, before she could even pull away, the watery hands grabbed her wrists with impossible strength, and they pulled. There was a splash, a final, desperate gasp for air, and then, silence. The river was still once more. By sunrise, the village awoke to an eerie calm. A few brave souls ventured to the river, their hearts heavy with dread. There was no sign of Nneka. The only thing left of the beautiful girl with the musical laugh was her red scarf, caught on a reed by the water's edge, floating gently on the surface like a single drop of blood. From that day forward, a new legend was woven into the fabric of Yumyuk. The elders tell it to the young ones as a warning. They say that when the wind blows just right across the river Oji, when the air is still and the moon is high, you can hear a soft voice whispering on the breeze, a mournful cautionary sigh that says, "Don't break a promise to the river." Thank you so much for watching. Stories like these remind us of the power of promises and the memories held by the world around us. If you enjoyed this tale, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel for more stories from the shadows. Stay safe and always honor your word.